Okay, so I should be recording right now. Let me try and put my volume a little bit higher because with the previous videos it looked like... Okay, great. So now that we have set the base for our model, everything should flow relatively fast and smooth. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first of all scale my column just like I showed you. Now, what I need to make sure in cases like this, when the geometry is too small, is that I catch the right snapping point. Because say that I drag my my scale tool to this corner, the scaling it's not going to be straight. Okay, if you look, it's going to be a little bit, you know, not straight. So what I need to do, I need to make sure that I grab the same point. And I bring this to this level. It's good enough for now. Now, all I need to do, I need to copy this. Now, the way I'm going to mirror it, I'm gonna mirror it in 3D and not from the 2D plan because I might intersect with some of these curves. So from the 3D, there it is. This should be fine. Perfect. Now, from the top view, I'm going to make a copy using this Control-Shift technique that I taught you before, where my hands are free. Okay, once you click it, fantastic. So now we got the structure, we got the plates. Now one thing that I want to show you is how to start adding all these little details. Like for instance, if you look at the elevation, it's not a simple elevation, but it has also like, you know, kind of like smoothing and offsetting. So what do we do? As I showed you, with the Alt key, I'm gonna make a an extrusion. This extrusion I can drag all the way down there, so I made a copy at the same time. I'm gonna scale it in one direction. Once again, I don't go down, but I go outside so that I know that my line is straight. And I do another copy, scale it again, and now all I have to do is to make sure that even from the front view I kind of have a little bit of differentiation in this geometry. So this is the... Okay, I have some levels. Unfortunately the elevation says something else, but that's okay. I'm just gonna... There we go. And this actually I can scale it down as well. And theoretically speaking, I could also scale this down and clean up the structure of my model. There we go. So now I have 3 elements. I didn't have to redesign anything, I just made copies. Let me check if there is something happening at the... No, everything is clear. So now all we need is the windows. And to make the windows, I can use the same technique that I used before. Only this time, I'm going to use as a reference my my elevation. Now, in this case, I don't really know how precise this is, but anyway, let's just assume that it is precise. What I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a box using a 3-point mode. This is a new mode. It's not like click, click, click like we did. This mode allows you to choose a direction for your box. What do we mean? Look at this. I can define the first point, the second point, and then the plane where the box is born. Now I can extrude the box all the way down to my plan, and I can try and find... as you can see, the plan doesn't really tell us where... Oh no, it does here. There we go. Where our window starts. So now that I have the window, I can simply scale it in one direction. I grab this point, and I bring this point closer to, I'm guessing it's here. Let's check in 3D. Yeah, I guess that looks about right. But as you can see, the elevation is drawn wrong because I have some holes in here. Now, one thing that you could do, which is always a good exercise, is to go and check, since, you know, we're modeling after an existing structure, if there is anything that you can look at as a reference. Let's take a look, let's have a look. So maybe something like this. Okay, it shows... nope, this is not going to help. Let's see this one. Okay, it seems like the glass, it's flash, but let's see. Farnsworth. Let's see how other people modeled it. There you go. Okay, so it seems like the glass, it's almost flash. There is a very thin, and as you can see, this model, it's completely different from what we have. But that's okay. We can just, you know, model it like this. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to scale this into one direction. Like this. And since the plan gives us very little information, like I have a point here and then another one there. So I'm just gonna make a copy from here, which is the middle, to here. Now I have the two frames. And now these frames, theoretically, they could be flipped, copied, moved in vertical mode from there to there, and scaled once again in one direction until we meet the frame on the elevation, which I cannot guarantee it's exact, but that's okay. As you can see, my view doesn't refresh, so I'm just gonna... There we go. Now I can assume that this frame goes all the way around the house, so looking at my project from the top, I can assume that this goes all the way down there. Now, since I know that this is a closed geometry, what I can do with Control-Shift, I can select only the cap. Then I can click on Move and bring it all the way down there. I can put it here. There we go. And I'll do the same on the other side. Move, select the face with Control-Shift, and bring this all the way. This time, let me take a look. I'll bring it all the way around here. Okay, I guess it's all the way at the back. There you go. So now what we have a frame which probably should be a little bit thinner. There we go. I'm just gonna scale this a little bit towards the inside. This house must have an energy efficiency of 0. I make a copy, vertical, up there, there we go. And then what I'm going to do, since I know that, in this case I can leave it, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna select these elements, which are frame elements, and I'm gonna mirror them. There we go. So now we have the frames all around. Let me check. In the elevation, basically we get... Okay, this is the probably the Looks like it's the front elevation, yeah, because this is the entrance. Let's take a look at the back elevation. So in the back elevation there are two columns. Let's just turn this. There we go. And let's position it at the same level with this ground, because I know that it's already flat. And then let's bring the middle, because we already discussed this, of this line to the middle of my geometry. And the reason for that is that if there is a mistake, this mistake will be distributed on both sides, okay? So we will be able to kind of fix the mistake in case we find one. Now, I'm assuming that these elements, they should be the same also for the back. Align to Word, I'm gonna make a copy, turn it around, and eventually I'm going to place it there for now and move it vertical to the bottom of this element. Now we have an element. I don't need to copy it. The best thing to do is to mirror it. Why? Because I'm assuming that this is symmetrical. There we go. And now what we can do a copy of this element. I'm gonna turn it around and position it in the middle of this geometry once again. There we go. Let's make sure that it's flush. Oh, we got lucky here. So I can just scale it up. I'm gonna leave it like this. It doesn't need to be 1000% exact. I'm gonna make another copy, vertical. Until we meet the slab. There we go. And now we have the frame for our windows going all around. Oh, actually we're missing the one in the front. That's okay. All I have to do is to make a copy. And this copy we bring all the way down to this element. As far as I'm concerned, by looking at the elevation of the entrance, we have basically a door, but this we can do simply with the glass. It doesn't matter. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start separating these objects so that I have a little bit of control on what I'm looking at. The details that we have, they're not super technical, they're not super exact, so it doesn't matter. From now on, I'm just gonna freestyle it so that, you know, we make it look good. So I'm just gonna hide all these plans and sections and elevations. I don't need them anymore. More or less the building is done. So I'm just hiding, I'm not deleting. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all these elements and I'm gonna put them on a separate layer so that I can switch them on and off. There we go. Actually, these elements I'm not gonna select. I deselect them by clicking Control. Now this I'm going to make a, I'm gonna go to the layers, I'm gonna make a new layer and I'm gonna call it columns. We make it some funky color, green, yeah, that's fine. Right click, change objects layers, and now they're on a separate layer. I can switch them off, there you go. And I'll do the same with the seals. I'm gonna call these window seals. Change the color to something cooler. Yeah. Right click, change object layer. So now I have them on a separate layer. Now the rest I can call them slabs. Save them into another layer. Change object layer, and we change the color to this. Great. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on the glass alone. Make sure that everything is fine. What is this? So I don't need it. There you go. So now all we need to do is to create the glass. The glass, I can start working on a glass layer. Obviously we're gonna make it blue like a glass. And I'm gonna set this layer active. So now everything that I'll do will be done in this layer. Now for the sake of it, the best thing that I can do, let's see. Yeah, let's just make a... I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm gonna make a rectangle. And this rectangle I'm going to then later scale. Oops, I made a mistake. It's okay. Scale in one direction. From up here to down here. And now what I can do, I can make out of this rectangle, which by the way, as you can see now, it's appearing up here. Vertical, yes. Gonna bring it down there on top of this. Now I'm gonna scale this by using these handles until I get to the middle of the geometry, you see? So now I know that my extrusion will happen in the middle of the geometry. Extrude all the way down there, and now I have my glass box. If I go and show everything, my house is finally modeled. Okay? Now obviously we're gonna need the stairs, the steps, maybe we'll have to do a door. Actually, let's do the door just for the sake of it. I'm just gonna... Whoops. Just gonna hide everything else. I know that the door exists here in the middle, so what I can do, I can make a line. Gonna switch off the center. Gonna make a line. And then, how big is the door normally? About 2 meters, 1 meter on each side? Or, yeah? Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna move this. Now, theoretically, this should be at the right size already. Let's check. Yeah, it looks kind of right. So I'm gonna make 100 in that direction and minus 100 in this direction. Now this project was set with centimeters. As I said before, we should work with meters. Would have been better. I didn't check. I apologize. Let's now try and unhide everything and see if we got it right. Let's take a look and see where I made the lines. Ah, no, the lines are a little bit too small. Okay, but look at this. Since I use my scaling method, I can bring my lines down there. And now what I can do, I can take this geometry, I can explode it, then I can take this face and say split. And I'm gonna use this edge, and this edge as a splitting element. Now I have two separate surfaces which I can move and slide over. Okay? Beautiful. Now one thing, we should probably select everything, and we should say, since the glass always has a thickness, we should say offset surface distance 1 centimeters. In this case, since we're gonna offset it in both sides, I'm gonna say 0.5, and I'm gonna say both sides delete input yes, and solid yes. Enter, and now I have a solid element. sorry, I didn't join the surfaces, that's why they came out like this. It doesn't matter. Let's do it again. What I'm going to do this time, I'm going to join the surfaces first, and then I'm gonna say offset. Offset surface, the last inputs should be fine. And now I have one single element. I say, okay, here I forgot to make the corners. Let's do it again. We go here to corners, instead of round, we say sharp. And now everything is fine. Okay? Beautiful. Let's do the same for these. These are the doors. Great. So now I have everything has a thickness. Let's show the rest of the model. The house is ready. Now you have to tell your client to pay you. And this is the hard part. Everybody likes the way you design until they have to pay. There we go. Okay, so this is basically everything that needs to be shown. Obviously now there are still the steps. Feel free to do those yourself. It's very simple. Everything that I've shown you so far should help you making also the steps. I'm gonna stop the video now and then we can discuss this further.